All right, here we go. So it's like super awkward pause. And just like,
Is it gonna work?
yeah. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Aspire to Inspire. This week we are joined by Corey Baker, aka Kill Paris. Thank you, Corey, for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I think we'll just start from the beginning. If you want to just tell us a bit about your upbringing, where you grew up, and your family, stuff like that. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been doing music now for, I guess it's been almost like 12 or 13 years. Kind of started playing guitar. Grew up in middle of nowhere, Indiana. Started playing guitar, getting into music, playing in bands. Then I went to college for recording. Have my bachelor's in like engineering, and I did that in Florida. Played in some more bands. Went to Nashville, played a couple country bands in Nashville, and kind of ever since then I've moved to and from Florida back to Indiana. Lived in LA for a while, and now I'm out here in Boulder, Colorado, and yeah, it's been a wild ride so far.
Awesome. And where you were born, was there like a more of a country influence, or was dance music popular there, or what did you grow up with?
Dance music wasn't really popular there, and I kind of came like when I was a kid. I listened to like a lot of alternative stuff, like Nirvana and Incubus, and loved the Smashing Pumpkins and a bunch of stuff like that. So that was kind of like what I kind of started out on, and then it wasn't until I think like in like 2008 or maybe even 2007. Might have been earlier than that. I don't know, but I went to Ultra one time. I didn't actually go to the Ultra festival, but I was there for like a week with some of my buddies and just went to a bunch of different, clubs and everything. And that was the first time I ever really like saw electronic music, and that kind of changed a lot of things for me because I was like, holy crap, like there's like a lot of people here and like everybody's having a really good time and like this is like fun. And I'd never really experienced anything like that because I was like playing in bands, for a long time before that. So that was kind of when I first got into it, and then from there, um, just really started to pursue it more, kind of on my own.
Mhm. Is that when you decided to move to LA, or was that before that?
No, that was way before that. That was when I was still in college, and
Oh,
before I ended up going out to Nashville. And like when I got done with college, it was like I could either go to LA or New York or Nashville, and I had like two friends that were already living out in Nashville at the time, and it was kind of like the safe move to like go there and try to do something in music. So that's kind of what I ended up doing at that time.
sweet. And talk about maybe your move to LA and like what that meant for you.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I like I said, I've moved around like a lot, and I think as anybody who's trying to do their own thing and like be successful, it's like sometimes you have to move and sometimes you have to take chances, like going to places and trying things out, and maybe it doesn't work out like how you plan, but at least like you learn some stuff, and then you can move on to the next place. But going to LA, like I had moved back in with my parents and was like working a normal job and just trying to pay off my student loan debt from college. And I was like really, really unhappy being there. I mean, it was really cool, like hanging out with my parents all the time, but I was, like 20, like 4 or 5 at the time, and I was like, I should probably like get out of their house. Like, I don't want to be the 30-year-old that's still living with their parents. So I ended up quitting my job. I might have had like $1,500 saved up, and had a place to stay, but was really only allowed to stay there for like a certain amount of time. And I just packed everything up in my 2000 Buick Regal that already had like 200,000 miles on it. Like I can't believe the thing even like made it there. And I just recently got rid of it like a couple months ago. And anyways, but so drove all the way out to LA, stayed with my buddy Marty Rod, which he was the singer on Falling in Love Again, which is one of my songs that has like a music video for it and everything. So I ended up staying with him for like a month, and I was sleeping on an Aero mattress that had a hole in it on a slanted floor. Like the way the house was, like it was like really old, so like it had like shifted and everything. So I was like on a slanted floor. So like at the end of, or when I would wake up in the morning, I'd usually be like on the other side of the room just because it would all like slide down all the time. And luckily, Marty's roommate was like getting ready to move out like right as I had gotten out there, and I didn't even know that. And it ended up working out, and I was like, well, I'll just like take that room and pay your rent and everything. And he's like, cool. So when I got out there, I at that point I had already been Ableton certified, and I would kind of taught some lessons in Indiana for a while. But when I went out to LA, I think I just put up like one Craigslist ad, or I kept like updating the Craigslist ad like every couple weeks, just like looking to see if anybody wanted lessons, and I started doing lessons like right then and there, and was like making good money and making ends meet and everything, and I was like, holy crap, like this is kind of cool. Like I don't have to like try to find like a real job or anything. And then teaching, because when you teach, you only teach for maybe like 2 hours at a time. So like that gave me a lot of time to be able to work on music there, and that's when I really started spending a lot more time doing it and kind of getting my sound together, and just started uploading stuff a lot more often. So yeah, that was huge. LA was like it was really good for me, and I'm like really glad that I went out there.
Were your parents really supportive of that decision to move there?
Yeah, and I remember having the conversation with my mom because I knew it was going to be hard, and I was like, like because I had visited out in LA for like 2 weeks like before that, and or for 2 weeks like something like sometime before that. I think I didn't end up moving out there until maybe a month or two after I had visited there, and I just told my mom, I'm like, I think I'm going to quit my job and move out to LA and just just try to do something. And I was afraid that she was going to be like, well, you shouldn't do that. Like, you can only stay here. You got a good job and everything. But she was just like, I can tell you're not happy here. Like, you need to do what's good for you. And so that was really cool because, like, I don't know, having supportive parents is like just helped me, immensely, throughout the years. And then now they're like my biggest fans. Like, anytime they get to come to a show, like, they're just wide-eyed and big smiles and everything. So yeah, they were really supportive, and yeah, it was great.
Oh, that's so sweet. And maybe tell us about the message you received on SoundCloud that kind of changed everything for you.
Yeah, and this is actually really funny because like I was teaching this kid, and I I think I was hungover. I think that was a problem. I was hungover, just not feeling well when I went to the lesson, and I was just kind of feeling bummed out, like, because I could like burn out on things like really, really quick and like get kind of bored of stuff and like always want to go and try something different. So I got done with the lesson, like went home, and I was like, ah, man, like stuff just sucks. Like, it's just like one of those times when you have that like feeling where you're just like, man, everything sucks. Like I don't like anything. And so I go and check my SoundCloud for messages, and it was from like the Skrillex account. And he was like, hey man, I just like really like your stuff, like you should send me some more tunes that you're working on and everything. And like I was just like, what the heck, like this can't be real, like this has got to be like a fake account. And I clicked on it, I'm like, no, that's a real account. So I was like, okay. So I like hurried up and like made a zip folder of like a bunch of music and everything, and I don't even think I really said much in the email I sent to him. I was just like, here you go, I guess, like here's some music that I made. I didn't know like what to say, and I just wanted to be like, chill about it, not like freak out or anything. So, and then him and I just kind of kept conversing after that, and that's kind of how I got involved with Alza.
Sweet. And then shortly after that, you started touring with them too?
Well, we never did any shows together, but I was on like a bunch of the Alza tours and playing with some of the other artists that are on their roster.
And do you like touring?
Yeah, I love it and hate it because I really love being home, like in the studio, but I feel like it's nice to have both because like touring is so different. And I mean, I love playing shows and everything. It's just usually the traveling that's like the part that kind of sucks because I like to think of it as like it's like a waiting game because you're literally you wake up in the morning, you're waiting to go to the airport. You get to the airport, now you're waiting to get on your flight. You get on your flight, you're waiting to get to where you're going. You get to where you're going, waiting to go to the hotel. You're in the hotel, now you're waiting for the show to start. And then the show starts, and it's an hour, hour and a half, and it's over like that. And then you go back to the hotel, you wake up, and you're waiting for the next thing. So it's just funny like how much time you spend to do a job that only requires like an hour or an hour and a half of you to like actually like quote unquote work. But yeah, I mean, touring is always fun, especially when you're with good people. Like I've been fortunate enough to be on some really cool tours, like the big gigantic tour that I did, which was like my first, one of my first like really big ones. That was one of my favorite tours ever. Like I got to tour with Zed on the Clarity tour. Um, who else? I just did the Bass Nectar tour, which was cool. And then Candyland and I toured. Was that earlier? Yeah, earlier this year, which was so much fun. Like just so much fun. So I mean, it's fun traveling when you have other people with you. You know, sometimes when you travel alone, it can get a little emo, but most of the time it's pretty fun.
Um, yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell us about this company V2 Presents and how they supported you?
Yeah, and that's Jeremy, my manager. That's his company. He started it when I don't know, he was like 18 or something like that. He's been, he's a promoter in Utah. He's been throwing shows forever. And one of the people that works for them, he found me on SoundCloud. Like this is had to be like 2006 maybe. Yeah, it would be like 2006. And he just told me, he was like, yeah, we have an event company out here. We throw shows. Like, keep sending me your music and everything. And he was really cool. So we kept talking and everything. And then in like 2008, they booked me to open up for Benny Benassi, and like that was like one of the biggest shows like I've ever played. And I was like a kid in the candy store. Like I just like lost my mind. It was so much fun. And ever since then, we've just had a really good relationship. And uh, when it came to me, or came my time to find a manager, Jeremy's already been my friend, for so long, and we already have that trust together. So he was like, yeah, I'd like to start managing you. And so he's been with me ever since, and the whole crew always backs me up. And I usually go out there like once or twice a year and just hang out and everything. And yeah, they're good people.
Yeah. And when did you start your label, Sexy Electric?
That technically from inception, like almost a year ago now, and it's taken like we don't even have a website yet because it's just me and my buddy Brian and a couple other people that we have on our team, and we're doing everything all of ourselves. Like I'm paying out of pocket to do everything to support all of our artists, to pay for a studio for all of our artists to work at. And so it's been roughly a year. We should have our first release, I think of like the beginning of the year, maybe January or February, around then.
And you want to focus more on just giving it or using it as an outlet to release music, right? You don't kind of want to make it an entity itself.
Yeah, I mean, the name of it is Sexy Electric, and we'll have a website and stuff, but we're kind of trying to focus more of our efforts and also more of our money as opposed to spending like marketing money to build up the label. Like we want to spend that money on our artists to build up our artists, because a lot of times nowadays there's so many labels around, and labels sign just about anybody, but they don't necessarily focus on the artist. And like we're not. I mean, we have three people, like including myself. It's me, Bees Knees, and Alma as of right now, and Virtue, which he's working on some stuff. He hasn't released anything yet, but so we're focusing more on just having a couple core artists and give them all the resources we can possibly give them, get them in the studio with people, get them playing shows, and really build them up as opposed to just starting a label and then signing anything and everything.
Yeah, it seems like most labels right now will sign like such a slew of artists and then do singles from all of them, but then like it's that one song and then that's it, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah, which I always thought was weird because like I don't know, I feel like it waters down the label too, and then the thing about our label and what we've wanted to do ever since the beginning is give our music away for free from all of our artists. I mean, we'll have like we're gonna be making vinyl and stuff like that, like physical copies, but the digital stuff, you'll be able to just download it for free, which I think is how it should be, because when you find out how much artists typically make off of like iTunes and stuff like that, like like the number doesn't even make sense. And if you give this stuff away for free, then anybody can listen to it, anybody can have it, and I feel like that's far more valuable than making a couple bucks off iTunes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and what's this new thing on your YouTube channel, Inspiration Station?
Yeah, so Inspiration Station, which is this, it's kind of funny because anybody who has followed me for a really, really long time and used to watch the old YouTube stuff that I did these, I think I only ended up doing 2 episodes, but it was called Sound Design Sundays, and it was I don't even know what I was thinking at the time, but it was like a 15-minute like episode of just like one of the skit things that I did was like uh, dogs with sexually uh, what was it? Dogs with sexually per oh man, it was basically just me with a camcorder, like recording my dogs like sitting on the couch with like really loud like techno music behind it. And it was just like 30 seconds, and I just used to do just all this like weird stuff. And there would be a tutorial at the end, and then I would do this thing called the inspiration station at the end, which was I would just like talk a little bit about like being inspired and everything. So I wanted to start doing that again, and that's what you see now on YouTube. There's one episode up right now of the Inspiration Station, which is basically just uh, me sharing like books, ideas, just things that help you, stay inspired and be creative. And it's not just like music based. I think anybody who's trying to stay inspired and everything will get some sort of use out of it.
Mhm. Cool. And the real Game Boys. What's this?
Uh-oh, you found it.
We did.
Yeah, my one buddy Justin. I've known him longer than anybody else really in my life. Even my girlfriend, and her and I known each other for like 11 years. He's just one of my best friends. Him and I always used to play video games together. Still play video games together today. So we wanted to start a podcast, and it's almost our 1 year anniversary now. And we just talk about the news. It's a lot of swear words, but it's a lot of fun to do. It's like something that I wanted to do for a long time, just for fun, because I love video games and I love talking about it, and also I love to embarrass my friend Justin, which is really really easy to do. So yeah, that's something we do.
How often is that?
It's usually every week. We kind of miss sometimes here and there depending on schedules and everything, but it's fun to do that because like sometimes you just get so in any line of work you get so bogged down with for me like working on music, touring, and all that stuff, and sometimes I just want to talk about video games and not think about anything else. So it's really fun to do.
Speaking of that, when you're like making music and stuff and getting really like heavily focused on that, like what are some things you do to sort of just clear your mind and sort of step away from that?
Video games is a big thing. I also, where I live in Boulder is like kind of right off our driveway. There's a trailhead that goes like all the way up into the mountains. So I like to go hiking and just go for walks and just kind of hang out. Yoga too, doing stretches and stuff. That always helps. I've been getting really into cooking recently too. Like I've kind of always been into cooking, but I've had some more free time to be able to do it. So just coming up with recipes and baking stuff, and I don't know, it's always fun.
That's so awesome. You should be on the UKF. There's segments for In the Kitchen with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do that. They just like go in the kitchen with some random DJ and they just like throw in a recipe and they put it up on the site. It's really funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
You should do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So when you're making your music and listening to it back, have you ever been dissatisfied with what you're making, or?
Always. 99% of the time, it's tough because it's like you can't get mad when you're making music. I do get mad when I make music, and I think a lot of people do, but it sucks because the second you start to get frustrated, then just everything falls apart because it's like you're not coming from a creative space, like you're like wanting to do something better because you hate what you're hearing, which I don't think is very healthy creatively. But a lot of times, yeah, usually I know when a song is done when I can't stand it anymore. But sometimes, like working on stuff, it's always hard because it's like you want to hear the finished product. Like you want to hear it finished, all mixed and sounding good, ready for iTunes or whatever, ready to play on a big system. But a lot of times it takes a long time to get there, and you have to kind of be able to see through that and to make it over to the other end. So I don't know, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah, how do you overcome that? It must be really challenging to hear your own music and not like it.
Yeah, I think the best thing is to just keep going. like just every day show up, and that's with anything, trying to be successful at anything. It's about the time that you put in, and you know constantly going back, treating it almost like a work schedule, which is usually, and sometimes you just have to walk away from it, or sometimes you just have to delete the session and just say, okay, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm going to start something new and just get rid of it and get it out of your mind.
You must have like 1,000 like half-made tracks that are just
Oh,
like
it's way more than that. So I might have 1,000 for my album right now that are half finished.
that's sweet. And you are working on an album right now?
Yep. Should be. I think we're looking at a release date in March, and then doing a tour shortly after that, which I can't really talk much about. But the album's coming. I've been working on it a lot, and I'm hoping it'll be finished in time and ready to go.
Okay. And we've got some Twitter questions, if you don't mind.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. This one says, "Where do your inspiration for Keeping Secrets in Midnight City come from?" Love that track.
Um, Man, where did that? I was at the time of doing that song. I was in LA, I think, working in the garage. And I mean, I've always loved M83. I've Before the Dawn Will Heal Us is like one of my favorite albums of all time. And I don't know, I wanted to make something that kind of had that sample, and then I ended up finding that what the other song that has the vocal from it. And I don't know, it ended up happening. I think I did that song in like 2 days or something like that. Sometimes that happens where like something will just gel, and like before you know it, you have a finished song, and you're like, well, how did I do that? Because I would like to know how to do this every time so that I wouldn't have to spend hours hating my own songs. But yeah, it was a really quick one, and I don't know, some people like that one, and I still kind of enjoy that one too.
Sweet. This guy's got another one. One piece of knowledge you know now you wish you did when you started.
Um, I wish I knew how long it took to like get any sort of recognition, or to get any sort of traction, because I feel like that would have saved me a lot of frustration. Because it's funny because as you're, anybody who's doing music or something really creative, and they're progressing and getting better and maybe getting more notoriety, like it's funny how much time it really takes, because it definitely, I mean, success doesn't happen overnight. That's a really overused cliche, but it's, totally, totally true. So, and a lot of times it's hard to enjoy yourself certain times because you're constantly thinking about the future, and you're like, oh, well, I wish I was here. Well, you're here right now, and you should be grateful for that, and like learn everything you can in the moment of what you're doing, so that you'll either get to the future quicker, or you're going to be smarter when you get there. So I don't know. And like I said, it gets frustrating sometimes, but you just got to keep going and try to stay positive.
And along those lines, you mentioned that you don't want to become successful too quickly. And how,
Yeah, oh yeah, I think that's a huge thing, because it's funny. There's this like misconception that's like, oh, well, I just want to get big, because it's like then when you get big, then magically everything is just easy at that point, which I don't think at all. Like I think it's way more challenging when you do get any sort of success, because you actually have people listening to you, or there's people there commenting on your stuff, and you have you know people that could be let down by something you do after that, or there's just all these different factors that go into it. And I think you need to build a really good foundation and continue to just grow organically, as opposed to just trying to jump to the top, because how are you going to sustain that? Like if there's no like run up to you being like a huge star, then what are you going to do once you're a huge star? Like, because a lot of people try to continue that, I don't know, level of whatever you want to call it, but I think that would be hard. That's why I haven't had a hit yet. I'm trying not to write hits, because the second you write a hit, then you got to follow that up with something that's better or just as good.
expectations
So
coming in.
trying to just stay above but under the radar at the same time.
Amazing. And you also said that there's no destination with your music. Like you're just
Yeah.
going for it, like.
Yeah, and just I don't know. I mean, I just like to do what's interesting to me and try to challenge myself and also challenge the listeners too. Because it's like it would be easy just to do what everybody else is doing or making something that sounds exactly like somebody else's song that's already popular, but I don't know, that's like painting by numbers for me, and I'd much rather just, I don't know, try to push myself and just see what happens, because that's usually when you have the most fun.
And your music is definitely unique. You can tell that you don't really follow a mold or follow trends and things like that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, why I've got you here. um, yeah, so what are some things that inspire you, and how do you want to inspire other people?
I try to read a lot just to stay inspired. I mean, I talked about The Slight Edge in my first inspiration station. That was one of the books that really helped me kind of see how to achieve, certain goals and everything. That's another thing, like having goals or, pushing yourself to constantly either be learning or be finishing something or doing something you've always wanted to do. I think that stuff will keep you inspired, and learning is a big one because I feel like every time you, especially with producing, like when you learn like a new trick, like that inspires you to do something differently when you're making music, and something that you didn't even know before. So I feel like once you get that, I don't know, that like buzz from learning something new and your mind's thinking and everything, you're like, oh, okay, well now I can do this and this, and oh, this sounds good. That like keeps you inspired. So constantly learning and also eating good. It's a good way to stay like healthy, and because you need to stay healthy, both your mind and your body, to be constantly inspired and be able to be creative. And drinking lots of water too, I think, is a really important one. I think that's kind of overlooked, but drinking a lot of water will make you feel way better than you felt before. So.
Mhm. I think that a lot of people also feel inspired from your stage presence. I feel like you're always having so much fun up there.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do, and I've managed somehow to get a job where I get to act like a 10-year-old, on stage, and other people are having fun. So it's a dream come true.
hmm And you really just want to make music that people enjoy, right? You don't
Yeah,
want.
yeah, and that's what's so hard about doing an album. Actually, is like I've always tried to kind of ride the line of like something that will sound good in a club, like something that people will be able to, raise their hands up and do the whole, woohoo and all that stuff, but also stuff that you can listen to in your car, listen to at home, when you're just like hanging out and chilling. Because I don't know, I feel like a lot of dance music, a lot of popular dance music, like it's definitely made for like the big systems, festivals and all that stuff. But it's like if you listen to it on your phone with no bass, there's not too much like feeling or excitement that you get from it. So trying to ride that line of like musical but still like, I don't want to say heavy enough, but maybe like bassy enough for playing out in front of crowds. But yeah, kind of always trying to ride that line.
There's one more Twitter question here. Um, what future collaborations can we expect from you? Is there anything?
I have some lined up for my album. I can't really talk about any of them, but people are going to be happy about probably all of them. Hopefully, I'm going to be really happy about all of them when they're all finished and everything.
Are they
Yeah,
people with different styles, or are they someone like people on your?
people that are kind of in. I mean, when it comes to the thing about collaborations and me is that I really only want to work with people that are like cool and like that are easy to hang out with, because there's a lot of people that you meet, especially nowadays, like in the electronic music mythos, whatever you want to call it. You just meet some people and they're just, I mean, pardon my French, but they're assholes and like just very egotistical and everything, and like they're like, oh yeah, we should do a song together because then we can market it this way and then we'll get it featured here and then we could do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I just like want to have fun with whoever I'm making music with and just like make some good music. So some of the people I have working, I mean, I think people are going to be really excited about it. Really excited about it. And obviously Marty Rod, who was on Falling in Love Again, and Alma, I'm going to do some stuff with them. Um, And then the Bee's Knees, I think we're going to try to do a song too. And then there'll be, I think, like 3 or 4 other little collaborations.
Mhm. And when can we expect to start hearing things from that?
Hopefully, I don't know, maybe around February or so. I don't know. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I don't want to like put anything out before it's, ready.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, that's all I have for you. So,
Cool.
anything else you want to say?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This
Yeah,
is
no,
really
thanks
cool.
for chatting with me. It's been good.
Yeah, really fun to do.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, yeah, and everybody that's watching, thanks for watching. Thanks for
Thanks.
listening.
Yeah, so we are taking a little bit of a break from ATI because of Christmas and the holidays, but we'll be back on January 7th, and just keep an eye out for who our next feature will be. Thanks, guys. Bye.